Using the power of the internet, you can now watch GLC on any TV in the US, Canada, the UK, and Ireland with Roku. Basically, a box that connects to your television. Roku acts as a middleman between your internet connection and your television. So if you have internet service at your home, chances are high that you can watch all of the great GLC programming. And best of all, it's highly affordable too, with only a one-time fee ranging from $50 to $100. Log on to our website, www.glc.us.com, for details on how you can watch GLC via Roku.
Well,
so if we goof up, just smile and go with us.
I actually prefer live TV because once it's out there, it's out there.
If you say something, blah, 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 it's there.
If you say something, we do this, right? Yeah. Okay, I got to tell you, I'm going to rat her off. I'm ratting her off right now.
All right, I think you should.
Okay.
Jenny from the bookstore was going to be on this program with us. Jenny. Less than 1 minute. And she's like, I can't do live TV. I can't do live TV. And off she ran. It's like, okay, well, tonight's going to be fun. I can tell. Anyway, the reason she was going to be on was to tell you that she and Becky started shipping those Roundup gifts today. They got 80 packages out the door.
All right.
Now, that sounds simple enough. But really, it's not, because all the packages are different, for one. And they actually had to come up with a plan to go to every single post office in the area, because they will limit us on how many packages we can take at one time.
Good. Good old
So I'm
post
supposed to do a
office.
shout out now, because Ginny chickened out, to Trevor at the Midland Post Office, who was absolutely gracious and said that, y'all bring as many as you want.
All right.
I'll take care of it. And we'll
Well,
be taking
there
him
you
up on that.
go.
So
That's neat.
So exciting. I can't even tell you how happy I am about that.
That renews my faith in the post office.
That's not what I'm happy about. I'm happy that the packages went out.
Yes.
Amen.
Absolutely.
Well, some of them went out. There's still some over there that are packaged up and ready to go. Where do you stand on duplication?
We still have tomorrow. It'll take all day tomorrow.
It'll take all day tomorrow. See, we actually have this massive duplicator, and you put the program in there and you tell it what to do. But they don't just jump out into the case by themselves.
That's right.
DVDs.
Right, for DVDs. And the covers, all of those inserts have to be printed and then put into the covers as well. So it's a lot of work.
Oh, may I ask a question? Why are we doing this live tonight?
Because we're doing Roundup Live at 8 o'clock Central Time, so less than an hour.
So it's been a while since we did some live programs around here.
It's been almost a year since we've done anything live. Yeah,
And for
since Roundup last year.
some 20-odd years before that, we did them live every night.
Yeah,
Sometimes twice a day.
yeah.
Wow. No wonder I'm gray-headed. Okay, where are we going?
You have a letter?
I got a great letter. Dear GLC, praise the Lord, I received my Social Security disability check in about half the normal time. I feel obligated to spread it around. I have watched GLC on an antenna since the Gardendale days, period, dinosaur. Now, what did he mean, the Gardendale?
The Gardendale days, Gardendale is actually where our KMLM, our Midland Odessa transmitter, is located. It's a small, quaint little town, kind of in between the two.
And the building we moved into was 30 by 60 foot with transmitters and everything.
The studio was about as big as this desk.
It really was.
It was, and you had to crawl under the cameras to get on and off the set.
You did.
You remember those
Yes,
things?
I do.
Okay, on with the letter. As always, I pray that the Lord will increase my contribution 100-fold. We agree with you. In Christ, this letter comes from David in Odessa. Tell me, read this joke, would you?
He added a great story. After baptizing Sam Houston in the river, the minister told him, "Your sins have been washed away." To which Sam replied, "Lord, have mercy on those fish." That's a great story. Thank you, David. That was
That's
fun.
true.
Okay. You know how I've been kind of talking to you about spiritual warfare?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to tell you what has gone on here in the past week, just coming into this roundup. Now, okay, we had our phones, our whole phone system, and there's a lot of business lines, and we have a prayer room over at the bookstore. We have another prayer room right outside of this studio during the live programs like we'll be having tonight. When you call in, you'll be calling this phone room here by the studio. Well, I get an email from Jenny last week asking me about contacting the phone partners to come answer the phones. And I replied to her, and I copied in Mason and I copied in Monica, because everybody's involved in this, you know. And I told Monica, I said, "Monica, will you go check those phones in the prayer room and make sure they're operational?" She called me back 5 minutes later and she's like, "No, Amy, they are not operational." Mind you, this was Wednesday afternoon. Bless you, Larry from Grande. Bless you, David from Petrotel.
Yes.
Because Larry started working on the new contract immediately to add these lines. It was the only way to do it.
And that's not an easy thing.
That's not an easy thing. They were here at 11 o'clock Friday morning installing the phone lines for tonight.
That's a miracle.
That's a miracle. Well, it's amazing we didn't go live and then find out we didn't have any phones.
That is a miracle.
Okay, well, then at 11:30 on Saturday night, my phone rings. And it's Monica. Now, when it comes to Roundup,
And tell them what Monica does.
when it comes to Roundup, there ain't nobody you need as much as you need your office manager.
That's right.
Monica processes all of the donations that come in.
Yes, she does.
The only thing I do is pull funds from PayPal, but then I give her the information to input all that. She's responsible for all that. Credit card donations, Jenny runs those in the bookstore. Monica processes them into the system. Okay? Now, that's just one of Monica's many jobs, right? She's an office manager, and she is all of the office assistants that we used to have. Because we used to have 5 people in that office, right? So it's 11:30 Saturday night. Oh, and she also normally picks up food for the crew when we're doing Roundup.
And gets the mail.
So she calls, and she's in tears. Her daughter, Mariah, turned 10 on Saturday, and so they had a big birthday party for her, and Monica fixed like 100 tacos and, you know, just did all kinds of stuff. And she took the kids skating, and she was the only adult there at the skating rink with her group of kids. And she stood up. I don't know if she forgot she had little wheels on the bottom of her feet, but she fell, and she broke. Well, she said it's her leg, but it sounds to me like it's more like her ankle right there. This was a severe break. In fact, 2 breaks, and she could see the bone pushing to come through the skin. She was in a great deal of pain. She had surgery yesterday afternoon, about 2 o'clock, and I talked to her today. We're trying to keep in contact with her without, like, making her insane. You know how it is when you're in the hospital, everybody wants to know how you're doing. Her mom came over from Snyder to take care of her girls, and she could be in the hospital a couple of more days. It's the kind of break that's so bad she can put absolutely no weight on that leg. And she has a good friend who actually broke the same bone, but her bone came through the skin.
Ooh.
And she did put too much weight on it. So she's telling Monica, you want to be real careful about that because I had to have a second surgery.
Yeah.
So that wouldn't be good. But when she fell, she also hurt her arm really bad. And she was telling me from her elbow down, it was really, really hurting. So it's hard to use crutches when you don't have an arm, right? So her whole right side is just not in good shape at all. Well, she's still in the hospital. She'll be there, we don't know, at least another day, maybe two, until she is mobile on her crutches and able to get around. They will not discharge her.
She did not break her arm.
No,
Okay.
she did not. They did
Good.
X-ray her arm.
Good.
Sounds like that car wreck.
But
I
we
had.
have no idea how long it's going to be before she comes back. So that's made it real interesting for Roundup. Oh, and did you notice that there was no one to answer the bookstore phone for 2 days last week, Thursday and Friday? Because Ginny, who never, ever, ever, ever gets sick, went down for the count. As we're working on Roundup packages, as we're going into Roundup, it's like, oh my goodness. It's just, I'm telling you, I don't even want to tell you any more of the stories. But anyway, be praying for Monica that she has a quick healing and that the pain will go because she's still hurting. In fact, the last time I talked to her, she was still numb because they numbed her for the surgery. But the numbness was starting to wear off and she could feel it a
Pins
bit.
and needles.
Yeah, no, the pain. I'm like, well, you had surgery. You're going to hurt despite the fact that you broke it, no matter what. So anyway.
Bless her heart.
But be praying for our Monica. We
Yes,
miss her.
indeed.
We're missing her a lot right now, I can tell you.
For sure. For
So,
sure.
Anyway.
Oh, my.
But all is well. And you don't want to miss tonight because you're going to get to meet somebody brand new. Gary Bird is here. And we'll tell you why. But his wife, Carolyn, is with him. And she's going to be on with us tonight. So we're going to have a good
That's
time.
good. Yeah.
And I'll probably have Mason talk a little bit about the IP conversion and where that's at, what we're doing and whatnot. It's not the end of the world, as some of the viewers have thought. Oh my goodness,
Yes. I'm losing you.
I'm
I don't know
losing
what
you
to
forever.
do.
So
What's the purpose of this program tonight? The
Roundup?
Yeah.
well, Roundup is a term that you use out west, which is where we are, for when you're herding. You're rounding up your cattle, you're rounding up your sheep. We round up our partners, and we've been rounding up partners for 32 years because GLC is viewer supported.
Yes, it is.
It's not paid programmer supported.
That's right.
Never has been.
It always excites me though. I actually like opening the mail. I got to do that today. But every once in a while I'll get to see some of the letters. But people will normally write on their check which programs they like. Because that's what they're supporting. And I loved seeing HIASOD and FFOZ on there. I mean, I'm used to seeing our normal guys,
Yeah.
you know, but those are some unique programs.
You'll have a new program coming in on the bottom of those pretty soon, and that will be Shabbat Shalom with Sandra. I hope they caught her this weekend. It was excellent.
If you missed it, it airs at 9 a.m. Central Time Tuesday morning.
Okay,
Tomorrow
good.
morning.
It sure does. And she
I recommend it.
She really did an excellent job.
Yes, she
Yes.
did.
So yeah, we're really, really excited about that program.
Hey, you know, all weekend since I saw that program Friday night, I've been thinking, from a male standpoint, how we have not really known the role of the females. From
Hey,
the
Mason.
way she put it.
Is it available in the archives right now? Okay, so you can go online to our website, glc.us.com, hit the little tab that says programs, scroll down till you get to Sandra Barris, and watch the program. If you missed it, you absolutely need to see it.
Right.
It was really great. It, of course, it's Genesis 1:1. We're just beginning the Torah cycle.
That's right.
And but it was a nice new twist.
It, maybe an Orthodox perspective.
Well, it is a Jewish perspective. In fact, she was telling us the historical literature that a lot of this is pulled from. So some really great stuff. Well, we're going to get to the news because we do have a few articles that we really don't think you should be without. The first one comes from Newsmax. Nearly every African nation has instituted travel bans on West African countries with significant Ebola outbreaks. Though the Obama administration has insisted travel bans are not necessary, even countries outside of Africa are beginning to start such travel bans, with Colombia and the Caribbean island of St. Lucia on Wednesday adding their names to a growing list of nearly 30 countries that block travelers from virus-stricken Liberia, Sierra Leone, and Guinea. African nations including Kenya, Zambia, and South Africa make up the bulk of the countries that have instituted some kind of ban. And now that countries on the other side of the Atlantic have begun imposing restrictions, calls for the U.S. to follow suit have intensified.
Would that probably have...
To kill it. That's the only way to...
That's the only way to quarantine it.
Well, if we had that, we wouldn't have the ones we got now. Am I correct?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Well, this comes from Matt Staver, and he says, I woke to shocking and disgraceful news this morning that U.S. government aid to Iraq is ending up in the hands of ISIS. And it's not because terrorists are taking these relief supplies by force. The headline of the Daily Beast exclusive report is as shocking as it is incredible. U.S. humanitarian aid going to ISIS. The website says that not only are foodstuffs, medical supplies, even clinics going to ISIS, the distribution networks are paying ISIS taxes and putting ISIS people on their payrolls.
Wow. Reporter Jamie Detmier's detailed account states, unbelievably, that U.S. and Western aid is flowing into ISIS territory by the truckloads. This is what she says. The aid, mainly food and medical equipment, is meant for Syrians displaced from their hometowns and for hungry civilians. It's funded by the U.S. Agency for International Development, European donors, and the United Nations. Whether it continues is now the subject of anguished debate among officials in Washington and Europe. The fear is that stopping aid would hurt innocent civilians and would be used for propaganda purposes by the militants, who would likely blame the West for added hardship.
The brutal terror group has murdered, raped, and kidnapped thousands while forcing more than 1 million Iraqis from their homes. It's completely ridiculous and totally unacceptable that ISIS has been receiving aid meant for civilians and refugees. If this report is confirmed, President Obama and his administration have completely failed the American people by sending aid paid for with your tax dollars to barbaric jihadists, the very terrorists who are causing the current extreme humanitarian crisis in Iraq and Syria.
For more than 2 months now, Liberty Counsel Action has been publicizing information about Run Ministries, that's capital R-U-N, and their efforts to help victims of ISIS by providing them with food, water, medicine, shelter, and protection. Run President Eric Watt and his team of brave, dedicated volunteers need your help now more than ever. Imagine their reaction if news of U.S. and Western aid going to ISIS reaches them. It could completely demoralize Run's network of believers and the refugees they care for and protect. Again, that was from Matt Staber, Liberty Counsel Action.
You can go online and find out more about that. This comes from the Times of Israel, AFP. Hamas organized a demonstration in Gaza City on Friday to call for the defense of the Al-Aqsa Mosque on the Temple Mount and the alleged threats posed to the site by Israel. Hamas leader Ishmael Radwan warned against the dangerous level of Judaization of Jerusalem and the mosque, the third holiest site in Islam. According to Palestinian news agency Ma'an, Radwan said that Palestinian worshippers in Jerusalem should defend the site. The Temple Mount, which houses the Dome of the Rock, the one that has the golden dome, and the Al-Aqsa Mosque, is revered by Jews as the location of the biblical Jewish temple and is considered Judaism's holiest place.
And has been for thousands of years.
Yes, it is. And it's
In
not,
fact-
not even mentioned in the
In fact, every year while they were expelled out of Israel for 2,000 years,
next year.
next year in Jerusalem is how they end Passover. Radwan also called on Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas to stop the security coordination with Israel in the West Bank. According to Ma'an, similar protests in the West Bank were suppressed by PA security forces. Last Thursday, Hamas leader in exile Khalid Mash'al accused Israel of trying to take over Al-Aqsa Mosque. Mash'al, who lives in the Qatari capital of Doha, said that Israel was trying to take advantage of the crisis in Syria and Iraq to assert control over the site.
The Temple Mount compound has seen numerous violent clashes between Palestinians and Israeli peace officers over the past several weeks, as tensions boiled over during the Jewish high holidays, during which Jewish worshippers flocked to Jerusalem to pray at the Western Wall below the Temple Mount. 3 policemen were injured Wednesday during protests against restrictions on Muslim worship at the mosque. Police used stun grenades as a crowd of about 400 people gathered near the entrance of the mosque, an AFP photographer reported.
Well, on Monday morning, Israel police forces surrounded the Al-Aqsa Mosque and entered the plaza atop the Temple Mount after receiving information that Palestinian activists had gathered stones and set barbed wire obstacles in preparation for planned attacks against Jewish visitors to the site. Upon entering the site, police were met with rocks, firebombs, and fireworks, which were hurled at them by the protesters, Israel Radio reported. The rioters were then pushed back into the mosque. Police removed multiple obstacles at the site, including stretches of barbed wire. It was finally opened to non-Muslim visitors at 7:30 a.m.
The simmering tensions prompted UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon to say he was deeply concerned about repeated provocations at the holy sites in Jerusalem, which inflame tensions and must stop. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on Monday blamed Palestinian extremists for repeated clashes at the contested site.
I like the way that article said it was finally opened at 7:30 a.m. We go to pray early.
That's right, before the sun comes up.
Before the sun comes up, that's right. Well, the next article is from the AP. A military official in Egypt says at least 2 troops were killed in the collapse of a smuggling tunnel that runs along the border with the Gaza Strip. The official said the troops had discovered the tunnel on Saturday and entered to explore it. An officer and a soldier were killed while 2 others were missing. The official spoke on condition of anonymity because he was not authorized to speak to journalists. Egypt's military has been sealing hundreds of smuggling tunnels under the border between Gaza and Egypt's restive Sinai Peninsula, which authorities say are used to smuggle weapons. Islamic militants have taken refuge in Sinai, increasingly waging attacks on Egyptian security forces and troops.
Well, also from the AP, the Palestinian UN ambassador said Friday his government wants the UN Security Council to vote on a resolution before the end of the year that would set November 2016 as a deadline for Israeli troops to withdraw from all Palestinian territories. Riyad Mansour said that if the resolution is defeated, which is almost certain because of opposition from Israel's closest ally, the United States and others, the Palestinians have other options.
A minimum of 9 votes is needed for approval, and then the measure can be vetoed by one of the 5 permanent members, including the United States. Palestinian officials said Thursday they have 7 yes votes in the 15-member Security Council and are seeking additional support. When the draft was first circulated, Israel's UN ambassador Ron Prosser said that by pursuing the resolution, the Palestinians were, quote, bypassing negotiations by taking unilateral action and avoiding a real dialogue. Mansour said that the Palestinians are committed to voting on the resolution, and the centerpiece of our resolution is the time frame. Very interesting. They want it now.
The last round of U.S.-led negotiations with Israel on the terms of an independent Palestinian state broke down in April after 9 months of talks. When asked earlier this month about a deadline for an Israeli pullout, U.S. Ambassador Samantha Power said that the U.S. strongly believes the only solution to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict is through negotiations between the two parties.
Mansour said one option, if the draft resolution is defeated, is for the Palestinians to join more treaties and conventions and the International Criminal Court. We want to create legal facts on the ground that we exist as a state, Mansour said, adding that joining additional treaties, conventions, and the ICC, the International Criminal Court, will further acknowledge that a Palestinian state does exist. Very interesting that that's how they're working this.
Mm-hmm.
Earlier this year, the Palestinians joined 15 international treaties and conventions. Mansour also said the Palestinians may go to the UN General Assembly, where resolutions are not legally binding, but there are no vetoes.
Palestine joined Paris-based UNESCO in 2011 before becoming a UN observer state, leading to a U.S. cutoff of funding to the Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Agency under the U.S. law that bans support for any UN agency with Palestine as a member. The UN General Assembly recognized the state of Palestine in the West Bank, Gaza, and East Jerusalem in October of 2012, thereby giving Palestinians the right to seek membership in UN institutions and treaty bodies.
And one more article from the Jerusalem Post. Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas has vowed that his government will aim to maintain quiet in Gaza in the near future in order to encourage financial support for reconstruction in the coastal enclave. The PA president's remarks came in the wake of a donor conference in Cairo a couple of weeks ago, during which nations pledged $5.4 billion to help rebuild Gaza from damage sustained during Operation Protective Edge.
The Palestinian news agency Ma'an cited Abbas as telling a group of businessmen in Ramallah on Thursday that the longevity of the August ceasefire that ended the 7-week conflict between Israel and Hamas concerned donors, especially the U.S. He added that he was engaged in dialogue with U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry regarding the ceasefire and told Washington that the PA was taking responsibility to uphold it. I told him I'm not a psychic, but during this year and next year, there won't be any type of clashes. Ma'an quoted the PA president as saying.
Abbas reiterated that the PA government would regulate aid for the reconstruction of Gaza and send it to the correct address, nodding towards fears that materials will end up in the hands of terror groups, like Hamas. On Tuesday, truckloads of cement and steel to repair damage to private homes from this summer's war with Hamas rolled into the Gaza Strip for the first time in a year.
And we have begun working on tunnels.
Well,
I don't think they ever stopped.
Yeah. I want to finish that. Israel simultaneously announced that produce from Gaza could soon be marketed in Palestinian areas of the West Bank, something that has not occurred in over 5 years. Gaza's ability to trade with the West Bank is one of the critical factors necessary for its economic recovery. Israel is trying.
They are.
Well, okay. Come back in 30 minutes. Well, actually, don't go away. There's probably a great program on right after this one.
Probably is.
We'll see you live at 8.
We love you.